According to a new report from The Verge, Google is being accused of censoring search results for "Does Donald Trump have dementia?" and for "Does Donald Trump have Alzheimer's?" Now, anybody who uses Google as their primary search engine, which of course is the vast majority of people in the United States, you've noticed recently in the last few months that whenever you do a Google search, it will come up with an AI summary almost every time at the top of your search results. Whether you're looking for a recipe, whether you're looking for information, it typically does that little AI summary if it's something for which there's a lot of information and it wants to summarize. A good example of that is, does Donald Trump have dementia? There's plenty of articles about it. There's plenty of quotes from mental health professionals. There's quotes from the White House. The exact type of thing that an AI summary would be used for. But it's gone. And according to Google, yeah, we have no control over that. That's just sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. For example, it's there if you search, does Joe Biden have dementia? Oh, you get a nice little AI summary for that, but no, not if you ask that about Donald Trump. So looking up, does Trump have dementia or does Trump have Alzheimer's? Nothing. Looking up, does Biden have dementia or does Biden have Alzheimer's? You get a wonderful little AI summary that says, assessing whether Joe Biden shows signs of dementia is a complex question with various perspectives and differing conclusions. When you look up, does he have Alzheimer's? Part of it says it remains elusive without formal medical diagnosis. It's a complex question with no definitive answer. So it doesn't necessarily give a yes or no, but it's like, maybe he does. But when you look up, does Trump have either of these serious cognitive conditions? Nothing. And Google again claims we have no control over this. That's just that AI does what AI does. Maybe it'll do it, maybe it won't. Who knows? But the irony, of course, is that this information was revealed just days after YouTube, which is owned by Google, of course, decided we're going to give Donald Trump a couple $1 million because we banned him from YouTube following the Capitol riots. Trump had, of course, as he did with many other outlets, sued YouTube for banning his accounts after the Capitol riots. And after years and years and years of the litigation going nowhere because it wasn't a case, YouTube said, we'll give you, $24.5 million. Just like ABC gave you money, just like CBS gave you money, just like all the colleges gave you money and concessions, all the law firms gave you over $1 billion in free representation for the right-wing outlet of your choice. We too will cave to you. And just so happens that around this time is when the search results for does Trump have dementia or does Trump have Alzheimer's lost their AI summary. Instead, the links do show up. I'm not saying that all the search results are censored, but the AI summary certainly is. But it's not for Biden. It's not for other politicians, just for Donald Trump. And if you don't think that's a little bit fishy, given the timing of this $24.5 million settlement, then I don't know what to tell you. According to two internal sources at the Pentagon who spoke to the Washington Post this week, both Donald Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have decided that there's still too many gosh darn leaks in the Pentagon, so they've sent out a memo informing employees, all the way up from generals to administrative staff at the Pentagon, telling them that not only are you all going to have to now sign ironclad non-disclosure agreements, but about 5,000 of you we're going to submit to polygraph tests. So thousands and thousands of Pentagon employees have been put on notice that we're going to polygraph you because we got to find out who's lying and who's not about who's leaking and who's not. Now, it should be noted, of course, that they've already been polygraphing employees. and so far have come up with nothing. And polygraph tests are so unreliable, so fickle, and of course so easily manipulated by the people being given the tests that they're not even admissible in court. These are not like true lie detectors, we can get you anytime. No. It's flawed technology that honestly is probably a little outdated at this point anyway. But this administration is like, no, this will totally work. I mean, it hasn't worked so far this year, but this time we're totally going to stop the leaks. And the irony, which has been the irony every time they've announced something like this, is that it gets leaked. It gets leaked, folks. They're like, we're going to plug up the leaks. And then the leakers go to the media like, hey, they're going to plug up the leaks, just so you guys... They can't catch these people. And that is the funniest thing in the world to me, right? Like, they're the ones out there telling us, we're getting rid of all the horrible criminals, the violent people, and the murderers. We're catching everybody. You can't even catch people using telephones in the office to call the Washington Post. Not that you should, but you know what I mean? Like, if you can't find your own people that are emailing media outlets like, hey, check this out. Let me forward you this official email. No, I have no trust in this administration to catch a cold at this point. They could catch measles, obviously, but, you know, they're so bad at this. And, of course, this is definitely authoritarian in nature. Obviously, Pete Hegseth's Department of Defense, which I will forever be referring to it as that. After all, the name's going to change back in 2029. But he's been part of the leaks. Like, he's part of the people leaking. You don't need a polygraph test to find the person. Go over and knock on Whiskey Pete's door and say, hey, man, you've been drinking and emailing a little bit? Because we've got some info that's going out that shouldn't be going out. These are the most incompetent buffoons I have ever seen in my life. I mean, it's like mixing the Three Stooges with Hitler at this point, because yeah, they've got all these authoritarian ideas. They want to rule with an iron fist. We want to get rid of certain people based on ethnicities. But at the same time, it's the Three Stooges because they're just so incompetent at everything they do. So dumb, constantly bickering and fighting with one another that they can't do the horrible things they want to do to the degree they want to do them. And that's the only thing at this point that's holding our country together is the fact that, yeah, the Three Stooges are running the show and they can't get their act together for 5 minutes to be the true authoritarian dictators that they want to be. So as much as I talk about the incompetence and mock it, please understand that's the greatest part of this administration. And that may be the only thing that holds the country together for the next 3.5 years. The U.S. government is, of course, officially shut down right now because Republicans don't ever want to do their jobs. They don't know how to do their jobs. And even when they attempt to do their jobs, they're very, very bad at it. This is now the 4th government shutdown that has happened with Donald Trump in the White House. 3 during his first term, 1 during this term, didn't even make it through a full year before he shut the damn government down. And, as per usual, this administration is squarely blaming the Democrats. Even though the Democrats control exactly 0 functions of the federal government. We don't have the House or the Senate, so we don't have any legislative branch. We clearly don't have the White House, so we don't have the executive branch. And we have a 6-3 majority conservatives on the Supreme Court, so we don't control the judiciary. Democrats don't control anything, and they, according to this administration, are 100% to blame for the government shutdown. So much so that the Trump administration has instructed federal agencies to tell their employees, literally give them a script that they have to put on their out-of-office email replies. Because obviously the government's shut down, you're not working, you're not allowed to check emails, so you have to have this automatic reply to any email that comes in. And the email says this: "Thank you for contacting me. On September 19th, 2025, the House of Representatives passed H.R. 5371, a clean continuing resolution. Unfortunately, Democratic senators are blocking its passage in the Senate, which has led to a lapse in appropriations. Due to this lapse, I am currently in furlough status and unable to respond to emails. I will reply once government operations resume." Federal employees have been given that script. This was sent to them in their respective departments. This has to be what you put on your out-of-office reply email. You have to blame the Democrats for this shutdown. And sure, I'm sure some people think, but Farron, I mean, it's the Democrats. They had a filibuster, and then there weren't enough votes to stop the filibuster, so it's the Democrats' fault. Do you know why the Democrats had the filibuster in the Senate? Because they were attempting to add on a provision that would not take away the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which will prevent people from getting their health care. They wanted people to have health care coverage. And no, as Trump and Johnson and Thune have said, they wanted health care for undocumented immigrants. No, they didn't. They wanted regular average Americans to not lose their health care from the one big beautiful bill that y'all passed over the summer. They were trying to protect people. And it's not their fault the government shut down. It's Republicans' fault for wanting to strip people of their health care coverage. So there you go. That's what actually happened. But none of this matters. The government is shut down. We're losing revenue. We're losing money. People are losing their jobs because the administration already had plans leading up to the shutdown to fire workers instead of furloughing them. Like, we're not just going to put you on temporary leave. We're going to get rid of you altogether. And as I've pointed out, this comes like a week and a half after DOJ had to rehire hundreds and hundreds of people because they realized the government couldn't function because of all the people they'd fired. And now Trump's going to fire more. On top of the fact that we just got the ADP jobs report from September showing that we lost 32,000 jobs in the month of September. August numbers were revised downward again, showing we lost a net 3,000 jobs in August. Country hemorrhaging jobs. Trump's using the shutdown to cut even more jobs and blaming the Democrats for it. Luckily, however, the public is not buying it. Polls show that a plurality of Americans do in fact blame Republicans for it, because apparently only a plurality, not even a majority of people, understand that Democrats aren't in control. But I also have to mention, look, this is what's so stupid to me. This continuing resolution was only enough money to keep the government funded through November 26th. So we're talking not even 2 full months of government funding. And even if they had passed the continuing resolution, then as we approach the November deadline, they got to do another one because these dipshits can't pass a real full budget. The entire time that Republicans have had control of Congress since the beginning of 2023 when they were sworn in, we haven't had a budget. We haven't had a budget. They haven't passed a budget in almost 3 full years. It's been continuing resolution after stopgap measure. They can't do like the most important job of Congress. And that's on the Republicans, and the public needs to understand that moving forward. A plurality already do, but we got to get that plurality to a majority. This isn't an incident that only popped up just now and will be immediately remedied. This is a festering problem that Republicans have created and lived with for nearly 3 full years. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the fact that out of everybody in the Trump cabinet, including Trump himself, the president, the person with the highest approval rating out of everybody in the executive branch of government was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and Human Services. And even though he was the most popular, his approval rating was still a -4, meaning he was still had a higher disapproval than approval, but the -4 was better than everybody else. Pam Bondi was the least popular person with a net -20 approval rating, and Donald Trump was somewhere in the middle there. And that was only 2 weeks ago, right? Right before this brainworm-infested fool got out there and told us that Tylenol causes the autism. You know, if you're going to be looking for the causes of any diseases, I'm just going to say it, maybe start with you, right? I mean, we shouldn't be taking health advice from a man telling us Tylenol is going to kill your brain when he sounds like he eats rocks for every meal. And I know it's a condition called spasmodic dysphonia, but maybe you could use your power and your resources in office to be like, hey, can we fix this? Can we prevent this in other people? You know, it's very close to home for you. You'd think maybe that would be a priority, but I guess not, pal. But anyway, a new poll has come out this week from Quinnipiac showing that now, after 2 weeks ago being the most popular member of the Trump administration, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is officially the least liked person in this administration. His approval rating is a net -21. 21 points underwater. So Pam Bondi, the person out there enacting Donald Trump's revenge agenda, super hated by everyone, is now not even the least popular person. Kennedy went from most popular to least popular. Absolute good for the country, right? That's a good thing. I have repeatedly said since the beginning of this administration, nobody's going to have a higher body count from their time in office than Kennedy is. And you look at the measles outbreak this year, Kennedy's is already pretty high, and other diseases, of course. And the rest of the public has caught on. He was the most beloved person, even though he was still hated by most, and now he's the least beloved person. His approval rating is a 33%. His disapproval rating is a 54%, giving him a net -21% approval in a matter of weeks. And as Tech Dirt pointed out, here's just a sampling of some of the absolute insanity from Kennedy just in the last, 7 months. He presided over the largest measles outbreak in decades and essentially blamed the victims for it. He used AI to write up his Maha health report. He fired every member of the CDC's ACIP panel and replaced them with anti-vaxxers. He fired the head of the CDC after only a month on the job and then concluded that pregnant mothers shouldn't take Tylenol because it causes autism. Not to mention that he's revised the vaccine schedules. He's changed the, who's allowed to get a COVID vaccine without having to lie to the pharmacist about it. And of course, he's defunded mRNA vaccine research. This guy is a disaster for your health. And a majority of people in this country absolutely see it, they recognize it, and they hate it, and they hate him. You're even starting to see Republicans in the Senate, as I've talked about, come out against him, come out against his insanity, come out against his anti-science opinions that he throws out as official policy. Problem is, he's not going anywhere. Donald Trump loves him. Somebody recently pointed out to me, I think it was on Blue Sky, they said, I think the reason he's keeping Kennedy around, in spite of the fact that he is a huge drag on this administration, Trump's own pollsters, Fabrizio and Ward, have told him that, by the way. But the reason Trump keeps him around is because he likes the prestige of having a Kennedy on staff, especially one named after an actual good Kennedy. So that may be why Trump keeps him around. But if his poll numbers continue to drop like this, and he, of course, continues to drag Trump down with him, there's no name on the planet that'll force Trump to keep him around for too much longer. Donald Trump woke up on Thursday morning in a horrible mood, as he does every single morning, apparently. But this time, of course, he wanted the world to know about it, because he's never done that before, right? I mean, coming on here and talking about Donald Trump's early morning Truth Social meltdowns, I've never had to do that, right? Of course I am being facetious. Donald Trump wakes up in a bad mood every morning and he makes damn sure the entire world knows it. And during his little meltdown on Thursday morning, Donald Trump said that it's the Democrats that have gone, quote, stone cold crazy. Yes, because nothing screams sane like getting on social media and having an unprovoked meltdown about something that doesn't affect you at all. This time, of course, it is the New York mayoral race, which still going on. I do feel like this has been the longest mayoral race we've ever had in a news cycle, but I get it's important. New York City, obviously, one of the biggest cities in terms of commerce on the planet, so it is a big deal. Some of us that don't live in New York, though, we're getting a little tired of seeing it. We're ready for you guys to go vote and get it over with. But here is what Trump said about Democratic candidate Zohran Mamdani, who, of course, is ahead in the polls. Best thing that could happen to the Republican Party? A communist mayor in New York City. The Dems have gone stone cold crazy. Communist. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but didn't something happen like 2-3 weeks ago? And then Republicans told us that it happened because you guys on the left call us horrible names like Nazi, fascist, communist. You know, you use these words against us and then that causes violence against us. And that's not okay. I mean, I seem to remember something like that happening. Oh, maybe I'm stone cold crazy. But Republicans have spent the last couple weeks telling us you can't call people names. And here's your guy, and I'm sure you're going to defend it. A lot of y'all probably retweeted it, calling a Democratic socialist like Bernie Sanders a communist for about the millionth time. This isn't even the first time Trump has called Mamdani a communist this week. And he knows he's not a communist. Trump can't even define the word. Here's a tip, and I've done this to people in real life, and holy hell, like it stops them in their tracks. I did this back when Obama was first running for office, 2008. Or maybe it was when he was seeking re-election, 2012, whatever. It was actually a family member. They started going off on the right-wing BS, and they were like, well, Obama's just a socialist. He's a socialist. And I stood up and I said, define that word for me right now. Tell me what a socialist is. Dead silence. It made family gatherings very awkward from that point forward. In fact, I've only seen that particular family member a handful of times since then. But it worked. And that's what I want a reporter to do. Anytime you have Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene out there being insane and calling these people these things, I want somebody to stop them in their tracks and say, hold up real quick, define communism for me. Define what is a communist. Don't tell me why you think he's a communist. Tell me what the word communist means, because you've used it to describe anybody you don't like. I want to see the press do it. I want to see this audience do it. Ask them. You don't have to be confrontational. You don't have to yell. You don't have to get in their face and point. But ask them. If they're going to use these words, they ought to be able to define them, right? Because what you do at that point is you make them think, which is something they are not doing when they give these unhinged, emotional, angry responses like Trump does. Make them think for a second. And you might be surprised at what happens. But on the other side here, we also have Donald Trump, who's potentially just insane. Anytime Donald Trump goes out there and attacks someone's intelligence, calling them low IQ, or he attacks them and says, this person is crazy, or this group is crazy, please understand, this is the most transparent form of projection we've ever seen. Because there are low IQ individuals. They're serving in your administration. You're also one of them. There's crazy people also serving in your administration, and you're one of them. So anytime Trump lobs one of these insults against his opponents, please understand, it's really nothing less than projection.